Alright, what's happening everybody? It's your boy Akeen and welcome to today's vlog. Need to talk about my second video, the top 10 running backs for fantasy football this season. My top 10 performers overall according to ESPN. Now at number 10, I'm going to start with Steven Jackson of the St. Louis Rams. He had a great year. Beginning of the season, he had suffered a hamstring injury in that first game, but in the second half of the year, he ended up pulling off big points, making it into this year's top 10. At number 9, Ryan Matthews of San Diego. He had a great year, and I strongly believe, and this is a bold prediction, I believe if he has 14 healthy games next season, he will become a Pro Bowl running back. Even though AFC has a lot of great running backs like Maurice Jones-Drew, Ray Rice, and Arian Foster, I still think Ryan Matthews can outplay all three of those players if he has 14 healthy games at least. That is my personal opinion because he is developing into becoming a great back. He had a decent rookie season dealing with a lot of injuries, and he had a great year as a sophomore in the NFL, and I think he's going to improve next season in his third year. At number 8, Darren Sproles from the New Orleans Saints. This was a surprise. Nobody thought he was going to make it to the top 10 this season, especially had to deal with the rotation. Now, he had 1,300 yards total in total offense, but he was a big-time player in special teams. He returned a couple of returns for touchdowns this season, and that's kind of sprouted him up into this season's top 10. At number 7, Adrian Peterson of the Minnesota Vikings. He was one of the top 5 players coming into the NFL Fantasy League this past year. Obviously, number 1 for most people's boards, but he had to deal with some injuries, and he had at the end of the year, he had to deal with a knee ligament that was torn, and he has to deal with surgery, and hopefully he's going to recover before the beginning of the season next year. At number 6, Marshawn Lynch of the Seattle Seahawks. Nobody thought he was going to make it to the top 10 as well as Darren Sproles. He had a great year, especially in that second half. As the game goes forward, he improves, he becomes a stronger running back and a beast, especially when he has the Skittles in his system. Everybody knows that he likes to eat Skittles during the game to give him the energy and spruce him up. No matter what it takes, no matter what it takes for him, he's gonna improve as the game progresses. If he has the Skittles, he knows what he needs to get in order to get him in beast mode, and that Skittles kind of helped him out. At number 5, Michael Turner of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I strongly apologize to everybody. I did not have him in my top 10 this season. At the beginning of the year, I had him just outside the top 10, and a lot of people were saying, wow, I can't believe you did not put Michael Turner in the top 10. And I apologize to everybody. I was wrong, and Michael Turner, he had number 5. Obviously, he had a great year running the football. Still had to deal with some durability issues, some injuries, but he still had a productive year, and I doubted him because of durability issues. That's why I didn't have him in my top 10 before. But he had a great year rushing for over 1,300 yards this season. At number 4, Arian Foster of the Houston Texans. He had an outstanding year. He missed actually 3 games this season due to injuries, but he still rushed for over 1,200 yards and had over 600 yards receiving. And I think if he had those 3 games played, he would have probably been the leading rusher in the NFL or the leading all-purpose player in the NFL as far as the running backs. I think he still had a great year. Actually, having a great running back tandem with him and Ben Tate, Big Ben Tate for the Houston Texans, a good running back tandem for that team. And I really like Arian Foster for next season. At number 3, MJD. Pocky Hercules, Maurice Jones-Drew. He had an outstanding year leading the NFL in rushing with over 1,600 yards rushing. He had an outstanding season. At number 2, LaShawn McCoy of the Philadelphia Eagles. I strongly believe that out of all the running backs, McCoy was the most consistent running back in fantasy play this season. Week after week, over 1,600 yards from scrimmage this season, and he led all running backs with 17 rushing touchdowns this year. At the beginning of the season, I had him as my number 10 running back coming into the this year's fantasy draft season, but he sprouted up to number 2, and I think he could make it to number 1 if he improves, if he stays healthy throughout the season next year and become a better receiver like he was the year before this past season. And at number 1, Ray Rice of the Baltimore Ravens. He was arguably, some people was thinking about having him as the MVP this season because without Ray Rice, Baltimore's offense couldn't do anything. And with Ray Rice getting the ball, Baltimore had a chance of winning the games. And I think he needs to have at least 25 touches in the AFC Championship against the New England Patriots for this game. Now, for the season, he had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage, leading all running backs, and I believe that he could be an MVP if he reaches the end zone a little bit more next season. He's a great running back, and he's that workhorse for that Ravens offense. Now, it's time for me to give you my sleeper of the year. Now, my sleeper of the year goes to the number 8 running back, Darren Sproles of the New Orleans Saints. Having to deal with the rotation with himself, Pierre Thomas, and Mark Ingram, who they just drafted in the first round in the NFL draft this past season. And I think that was a little bit of a confusion for Darren Sproles. I did not know that he was going to produce so many great yards and be a great productive return specialist for the Saints this season, replacing Reggie Bush. He went to the Miami Dolphins. He was a little bit of a sleeper as well. He had over 1,000 yards rushing at Miami. I'm talking about Reggie Bush. But Darren Sproles, I was so shocked at having to deal with a 3-man rotation at running back and still made number 8 in the top 10 running backs this season. I have him over Marshawn Lynch. I was thinking about putting Marshawn Lynch as the sleeper of the year, but he was going to be that top back for Seattle this season, and he was going to get the bulk of the carries at the beginning of the year. We already knew that. So I believe that Darren Sproles, having placed just 2 spots behind Marshawn Lynch, I had to put him as my sleeper of the year. Now, this season's bust belongs to Peyton Hillis of the Cleveland Browns. I'm so disappointed in this player throughout this year. Yes, he had to deal with some injuries, but some of the injuries, I strongly believe he could have sucked it up and played some football. This year, he rushed for just under 600 yards and had only 130 yards receiving and just 3 total touchdowns, and he was at the bottom half of the running back this season in the NFL. I had him as my number 9 running back coming into this year, but he very disappointed. He was just a very disappointment. Having been on that Madden cover shows that the Madden curse is still alive. And Peyton Hillis, I'm very shocked about this. I thought he was going to do a lot better, especially being 4th place overall last season at the running back position in last year's fantasy football play. But this year, he was at the bottom half. I'm very disappointed. But hey, I think he can improve next season. Depends on if he wins the job over Monterio Hardesty or Chris Ogomanaya, who had a couple of games at the end of the year, a couple of games over 100 yards. So he has a little bit of a running back battle in Cleveland. Now, the next time I'm going to catch you guys is tomorrow to give you my top 10 receivers this past season, as well as the top 10 tight ends and my predictions for the AFC and NFC championships. Thank you for watching this vlog from Pro Football Exclusive. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.